Okay, let's continue to study the cause of Madhyamaka Karika. To explain further why a thing devoid of own being does not exist, let us now look at chapter 15, verse 4 of the Mula Madhyamaka Karika. Here is the original text. Svabhava Palabhava Apam Ritte Bhavaha Kutaha Punaha Svabhave Palabhave Ja Sati Bhavo Hit Siddhyati. Here is the Kumarajiva's translation. Apart from all being and other being, how could this be any dharma? If there were own being and other being, dharmas could then be established. Here is the Professor Ye's translation. Without all being and other being, whence could there still be a thing? Only when all being and other being are present can a thing be established. Okay. Before we can understand this verse, we must first explain other being. Chapter 15, verse 3 has already stated clearly. The all being of other thing is what is called other thing. Therefore, other thing, other being, is not another independent thing existing apart from all being. What is called other being is simply the all being of other thing. In other words, other being is still all being. Thus, the central issue discussed in chapter 15 is always all being. The first phrase is Svabhava Palabhava Apyam Ritte. Here, Svabhava means all being. Palabhava means other being. Ritte means apart from, separate from, excluding. This phrase can therefore be translated literally as apart from all being and other being. Next, Bhavaha Kutaha Punaha. Here, Bhavaha means think, Kutaha means whence, how possible, Punaha means still more, how then. The entire line therefore means without all being and other being, how then could a thing be established? Professor Ye translates it as without all being and other being, whence could there still be a thing? This translation is highly accurate. If I were to translate it, I would render it as apart from all being and other being. How could a thing exist? The meaning is exactly the same. The second phrase is Svabhave Palabhave Ja Sati. Here, Sati means existing, being established. It means when all being and other being exist. Next, Bhavo Hit Siddhyati. Here, Bhavaha means thing. Siddhyati means to be established, to be accomplished, to exist. This word is not unfamiliar to us. We often recite Om Om Aha Om Vajra Guru Pratama Sikti Hom. Here Sikti means accomplishment. Therefore, Siktiyade means to be established, to exist, to be accomplished. The second line therefore means only when a being and other being exist can a thing be established. Professor Yes translates it as only when a being and other being are present can a thing be established. This is highly accurate. This verse is actually explaining an extremely important point. The establishment of things presupposes the establishment of all being. In other words, if there is no all being, then the thing itself cannot be established. Therefore, to be devoid of all being does not mean there exists a thing that is devoid of all being. Rather, it means without all being, the thing itself cannot be established. This corresponds precisely to chapter 1 verse 10. Chapter 1 verse 10 states, Pavalam nikasvapavalam lasata vitayate yataha. That is, for things devoid of all being, existence cannot be found. Chapter 15 verse 4 further explains, without all being and other being, whence could there still be a thing? And only when all being and other being are present can a thing be established. Thus 1.10 and 15.4 are actually explaining the same conclusion together. Step 1, if a thing exists, then it must have all being. That is, there is a thing, there is all being. Step 2, if there is no all being, then the thing cannot be established. That is, no all being, no thing. Nagarjuna's knowledge is therefore not there is a thing, but it simply lacks all being. Rather, it is to be devoid of all being means precisely that the thing itself cannot be established. The key issue in Mula Madhyamaka Kalika, much of the later discussion in the Mula Madhyamaka Kalika is actually concerned with this one issue. A thing is taken to exist because ordinary beings believe that it has all being. When what Nagarjuna does this repeatedly demonstrate, all being cannot be established. Once all being cannot be established, then the thing cannot be established either. Therefore, chapter 15 verse 4 and chapter 1 verse 10 are two extremely important textual grounds for understanding the Mula Madhyamaka Kalika. Together, they explain the establishment of all being and the establishment of a thing and one and the same. A thing devoid of all being is not an existence devoid of all being, but a thing that fundamentally cannot be established. This is precisely the theoretical basis for the subsequent step-by-step refutation of the old being of all telomeres in the Mula Madhyamaka Karika. The core question of the first verse of the Mula Madhyamaka Karika, what is it? That is non-arising. Let us continue our study of the Mula Madhyamaka Karika. In explaining the first verse of chapter 1, historical commentaries such as Qinmu commentary, the Fearless commentary, and the Buddha Parita commentary often devote extensive discussion to the following questions. Why can a thing not arise from itself? Why can it not arise from another? Why can it not arise from both? Why can it not arise without a cause? Of course, all the discussions are important. However, I believe that for the most who are just beginning to study the Mula Madhyamaka Karika, the most crucial question in the first verse is not why can a thing not arise from itself or from another. After you have finished reading the entire Mula Madhyamaka Karika, you will naturally understand arising from itself is impossible. Arising from another is impossible. Arising from both is impossible. Arising without a cause is also impossible. If you become fixated at the outset of providing these points, you can easily become trapped in the arguments instead. The true focus of the first verse is what does not arise from itself, what does not arise from another, what does not arise from both, what does not arise without a cause. In other words, what is it that is non-arising? This is the most crucial question in the first verse. The answer is actually in the Sanskrit. The word is pavaha. It is derived from the verbal root pu, which means to exist, to become. How moral level, it does not refer to existence in the abstract, but to the existence of concrete things. The wrong power derived from pu, therefore usually refer to concretely existing thing. Gumala Jiva translated Pavaha as all telomeres. This translation has been extremely influential in Chinese Buddhism. Later translators, including Bodhiluchu and Sensananda, also followed this translation in many places. However, translating the term as all telomeres can easily lead to misunderstanding. This is because telomeres in Buddhism include both conditioned telomeres and unconditioned telomeres. Someone may therefore ask, do all telomeres here include subtraction? subjects, the issue then becomes complicated. Modern scholars, therefore, either translate the word more directly. Lü Chen translates it as object. Ye Shaorong translates it as think. They are actually expressing the same meaning. Pavaha means a sink. That is, tables, chairs, benches, and stools, mountains, rivers, and the earth, the sun, moon, and stars. All the myriad things in the world. All the things that originally beings believed to exist. The first verse is therefore actually saying, things do not arise from themselves, from another, from both, or without a cause. In other words, things are non-arising. It is not saying some kind of essential is non-arising, nor is it saying some kind of hidden entity is non-arising. Still less is it saying some kind of abstract concept is non-arising. Nagarjuna states it very directly. Things are non-arising. The Buddha Bharata commentary states this point with exceptional directness. Professor Ye translates it as the arising of things in every possible way that is impossible. Therefore, things are non-arising. What is called arising is not designation. This statement is entirely thought. The expression every possible way that refers to arising from itself, arising from another, arising from both, arising without a cause. All four are negated. The resulting conclusion is therefore things are non-arising. Moreover, even the concept of arising itself is only established by designation. Jamyan Kayan said expressed the point similarly in his translation of the Buddha Bharata commentary. Because the arising of things cannot be established in any mode whatsoever, there is no arising. The expression arising is only designation. This passage likewise states clearly the arising of things cannot be established. Moreover, arising is only designation. At least in the explanation of the first verse, this understanding is consistent with Buddha Bharata's. Over the course of history, however, many different interpretations of non-arising gradually appeared. I believe that the three main interpretations are as follows. First misunderstanding, all being is non-arising, but things arise. This view holds it is not the thing that is non-arising, but the things of being. It therefore becomes all being does not arise, but things devoid of all being still arise. Chinese Buddhism later summarized this view in a very famous statement: refute all being, but do not refute thalamus. Translated into modern language, this means eliminate the all being of things while preserving the existence of things themselves. Thus, tables exist, mountains and rivers exist, the sun, moon, and stars exist. They simply lack all being. This has in fact already departed from Nagarjuna's original meaning. Okay. Second misunderstanding: Run arising in ultimate truth, but arising in conventional truth. The second view holds in ultimate truth, all thalamus are non-arising. But at the same time, it says in conventional truths, all thalamus still arise. This produces the following distinction. Noble ones see non-arising, ordinary beings see arising. Tables still exist, nodes still exist, mountains, rivers, and the earth still exist. This interpretation is actually a concession to the experience of ordinary beings. Third, the misunderstanding: illusory appearance arise. The third misunderstanding is the most deceptive. It says, in ultimate truth, all thalamus are non-arising. This point is asserted very firmly, but it then says, in conventional truth, a luxury appearance formed through the convergence of causes and conditions, like dreams and illusions, do arise. It therefore becomes real things do not arise, a luxury appearance arise. A real nose does not arise, and a luxury nose arise. A real table does not arise, and a luxury table arises. This may appear sophisticated, but in fact, the problem has not been resolved. If they are only illusory appearances, then how can cause and effect be established? Does a tiger in a dream has a mother? No. Does a son in a dream has a father? No. If everything is merely an illusory appearance, like a dream or an illusion, then how can causal relationships be established? An enormous difficulty therefore arises here. One seeks both to uphold the non-arising and to preserve conventional cause and effect. As a result, neither side can truly be established. In the final analysis, these three interpretations share one common feature. They are unwilling to neglect the experience of ordinary beings completely. They always seek to preserve something for ordinary beings. The first preserves things devoid of all being. The second preserves things in conventional truths. The third preserves illusory appearances that are like dreams and illusions. In essential, all three leave room for what ordinary beings take to exist. This is why we repeatedly emphasize the Buddha Bharita commentary. Buddha Bharita is entirely unequivocal here. His conclusion is very simple. Arising in any possible way cannot be established. Therefore, things are non-arising. Moreover, what is called arising is also only designation. This formulation leaves no room whatsoever for the experience of ordinary beings. Let us also explain here why, when discussing the fourfold two truths, we changed the expression in the third fold of the two truths from "there is only provisional designation" to "there is only designation." This change was made after repeated consideration. The expression "there is only provisional designation" can easily be understood to mean, at the level of a designation, a kind of a provisional existence really exists. This can easily slide into the third misunderstanding. What we therefore changed it to "there's only designation." This means there are only names with no corresponding things. It does not mean a kind of provisional existence exists. Rather, not ever provisional existence exists. There is only designation. A very popular expression in Buddhist history is "true emptiness" and wondrous existence. Many people understand it to mean ultimate truth is true emptiness, while conventional truth is wondrous existence. Thus, real things do not exist. Illusory things exist. This understanding is actually very close to the third misunderstanding. From the standpoint of the Mula Madhyamaka Karika, what is called wondrous existence is not the provisional existence that originally beings take to be real. What can truly be called wondrous existence can only be the reality realized by noble ones. Let us therefore return to the first verse. Not arising from itself, not arising from itself, not arising from another, not arising from both, not arising without a cause. This actually eliminates every possibility of arising. It first eliminates the two extremes of self and another. It also eliminates the two extremes of having a cause and having no cause. It further eliminates the four alternatives. The final result is no possibility of arising can be established. There is therefore only one conclusion: things are non-arising. This is what Nagarjuna's first verse actually expressed. Okay, that's all today.